No, you're okay.
Well, good morning, everyone. I appreciate everyone being here this morning early on committee day. I would like to ask Representative Donahue to open us up with a word of prayer.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and thank you for all your blessings. We pray that you be with our families as we're away, watch over and protect them. Open our minds up and help us, Lord, to do the right thing, as everything we do affects the state of Georgia. We just, again, lift you up and praise your name. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. We've got several bills on the agenda today, as you can see. We also have our committee dinner tonight. I'll remind you at the end of the meeting, but 6:30 at Untitled Chapter. I hope everyone can make it tonight. Spouses are invited as well. So we've got a busy day. Vice Chairman Holmes, glad to have you back here this morning early.
Thank you very much. It's very nice. I missed y'all.
We missed having you. If it's all right with the committee, we're going to start with our Senate bill first this morning. Governor's Floor Leader Goodman's here. Looks like a good bill. I know they've been working hard over in the Senate getting this bill right. And so committee members, y'all pay attention this morning. And thank you for being here, sir. Welcome to the House.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will say everybody here is looking especially judicious and reasonable today. So I appreciate y'all allowing me to bring this bill in front of you. This is a governor's bill. It's had broad bipartisan support in the Senate. We had 52 co-sponsors out of 56 senators in the Senate. I served on a food insecurity committee between last year's session and now, and it was myself and Senator Freddie Powell Sims and Senator Harold Jones and Senator Billy Hickman. And we had committee meetings in Augusta and Valdosta and Atlanta, and we met with folks across the state, stakeholders, people that are trying to address the issue of food insecurity. And obviously, food insecurity is a problem not just in the state of Georgia, but it's a problem across the country. And I think this bill is a great bill because it addresses food security at the same time. It's going to be beneficial to our farmers and beneficial to rural communities. So what I bring to you today is Senate Bill 396. And basically what Senate Bill 396 is going to do, it's going to appropriate $800,000 to the Georgia Department of Agriculture. And this program will be administered through the Department of Agriculture through the food banks. But the bill is called the Georgia Grown Farm to Food Bank Program. So our Department of Agriculture will work through the food banks. The food banks will then negotiate with farmers to buy, and it's exclusively for Georgia farmers to buy surplus either produce, or it could be even if you had surplus chicken, that they could buy surplus chicken. And also maybe, for those on the committee that don't farm for a living, I know when I'm talking with Sam and Chairman Dickey, I'm telling them something they already know. But for instance, I'm a blueberry farmer, and if we have a little bit of rain, sometimes it can cause your blueberries to split. Well, on a pallet of blueberries, there's about 1,100 pounds on it. There's 144 boxes and there's 12 clamshells to the pallet. If it is not a USDA #1, a lot of times you can't sell it retail. There's nothing wrong with the product. My mother carries it all over South Georgia and delivers it. And to tell you the difference is, a split is considered to be a major defect. If you have 2 splits in a clamshell, it'll pass. If you have 3 splits, then it fails. So if you got an 1,100 pound pallet, you got 144 boxes to a pallet, and you got 12 clamshells to a pallet. When our graders go through it, they grade a clamshell in the bottom, a clamshell in the middle, and a clamshell on the top. And if you just happen to get they pick the wrong clamshell, then you can get rejected. That kind of product is going to help create a home for that. And the way the food banks are going to negotiate, it's going to be cost plus half of appreciation. So in the wholesale market, say that I'm selling my blueberries for $20 a box, half plus appreciation means that if my picking, packing, and sales commissions and all makes it $10 a box, and it's half plus, cost plus half appreciation. I would sell my product to the food banks for $15, so $5 less than what it is in the wholesale market. But that's also going to be negotiated through the food banks. A lot of farmers that get in that situation, will be glad to get their picking and packing and sales commission back out of it. I don't know if y'all realize this, but Georgia farmers across the country, 40% of what we grow never gets consumed, never gets sold. Doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with it. It's just, and it doesn't mean it's the farmer's fault. It's just the nature of agriculture. And I could, has my good friend and fraternity brother roommate Sam Watson, I'll tell you, I can get on a stump and on this stuff, but I'm going to yield for questions at this point because in the interest of brevity and the interest of y'all's time.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate that. We're going to take some questions. Who is number 10? Representative Laricia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, Leader Goodman, did I miss it or did you go through any of the bill? Did you talk about the bill and what it does at all, or did you? You mind giving us a little kind of a snapshot of what it does? Looks like it changes the name from that Georgia Supplemental Nutritional
Yes, sir.
Assistance.
Well, and what that is the Georgia SNAP, that this a program like this was originally enacted into law in 1998, but it was never funded. And so SNAP, the SNAP, to not have confusion with federal SNAP, Georgia SNAP was created in 1998 and never funded. Federal SNAP is to not have any confusion. We changed the name of the program to the Georgia Grown Farmer to Food Bank Program.
Senator, we have 3 members online this morning: Representative Camp, Representative Mitchell, and Representative Lewis Ward. We have a question from Representative Mitchell online. Are you with us, Representative?
I am. Oh, sorry, I have a strange background. Thank you for coming and speaking to us about this bill this morning. I do think it is certainly confusing to have both programs named SNAP, so I think it is a great idea to clarify that. Can you talk about what volume of food this is and how moving to a Georgia grown only model will affect both consistency of availability and product type? If I'm understanding correctly, we're actually moving the local program, so it would have to be Georgia grown. And while we do produce a lot of things, that it isn't nearly universal. And how do we deal with the seasonal impact of that type of change?
Sure. One of the things that I failed to mention as well is the money that the state's putting in this program is actually going into the ratio that's going to affect our federal dollars, which is the TFAP program. So we're actually going to get more federal dollars for our food banks through this program as well. But, in Georgia, we grow 2 crops. We grow spring crops and we grow fall crops. There's literally, in Georgia, there's food that farmers grow in Georgia. It may not be the exact same product, but there's Georgia grown farm products that are available throughout the year. But also with the TFAP dollars, with the increase into the funding, that's going to help just in general. But I'm one of those that, I think that this is a program that can help address those that are suffering from food insecurity, but also help rural communities and help our farmers.
We got another question, Representative Watson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good to see my roommate this morning. I'm just, it's pretty early this morning. Georgia grown lines 42 and 43, Georgia grown products, as that term is used in code section 2-8-90. What is that code section?
Mr. Chairman, I will have that answer to you by this evening.
I would appreciate that. You can report back.
Yes, sir.
But no, on a serious note, thank you for bringing this bill forward. And I want to thank the governor for putting this initiative forward. This is going to be tremendous for our Georgia farmers, as many of them are truly suffering with a lot of product that they don't know what to do with. And we just dump it and throw it away or feed it to the cows, and it has no home. This will help give it a home. And I think it'll just be great for the people of our state. It'll be great for the farmers of our state, and it's just a win-win all the way around. So thank you for bringing it forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Watson. I'd also like to echo that a little bit. I think our food banks, what I've noticed in the last few years, they have really geared up with cold storage and refrigerated trucks. And I think they have the infrastructure now to be able to handle this product in a really good way and get it distributed in a quick manner to citizens throughout Georgia. So I think a lot of good things are coming together with this. Could I ask you how much money is in this program? I don't know if you mentioned that and when it will be available.
Yes, sir. It's $800,000 is the initial funding. Of course, after that, it's going to be up to the General Assembly to decide at what dollar amount we fund it. My understanding is with 800,000 going into the ratio, it's going to produce another $200,000 to the federal government. So it's going to be $1 million basically the first year.
So
Still-
House in our budget put in 800,000. Is that right? How much the Senate putting in? Are they matching it?
Mr. Chairman, we'll talk to Chairman Tillery about that. How about?
Well, you're certainly one to have some influence with them. So we got a few more questions here. Representative Dukes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Certainly, this is great legislation for people in my part of the state, particularly farmers. You stretched out, who is going to pay the administrative costs? 46 and line 46 and 47. Who's paying the administrative costs now?
There is no one is going to pay the administrative costs. So in this legislation, neither the Department of Agriculture nor the food banks are going to be able to charge an administrative cost. It's going to go all directly to buying farm products to be able to deliver to the needy, to those suffering from food insecurity. And the Georgia Department of Agriculture is aware and they're okay with that. And so are our food banks. Our food bank associations have spoken, they spoke in our Senate committee about this, and they're very excited about it.
Thank you. Representative Holmes.
Yes. Mr. Goodman, I want to thank you for bringing this bill and for doing an excellent job presenting it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And my home county, Jasper County, has got a very active food bank. We rely heavily on the food bank now, unfortunately. But I think this is just an excellent way to utilize the products that farmers have that cannot be sold. And I thank you for working on this, and I just appreciate your effort. And this is going to be beneficial to so very many people. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you very much. Chairman Watson knows that he and I've been friends for a long time. I'm a big Elvis fan. Elvis used to have a saying. He said, all money is not valued the same. And what he meant by that, he said, I can go buy a $10,000 watch and I can take that $10,000 watch and carry it home and put it in a drawer with my other $10,000 watches. But I can take that $10,000 and I can feed 10,000 hungry people. That $10,000 that I used to feed those hungry people is worth a whole lot more than that $10,000 I bought that watch with. So I think that's true in this case. I think this is a good bill.
Thank you. Got a couple more questions, Senator. Representative Everett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, I'm so glad. I was worried you were not going to quote Elvis at some point during your presentation. And so I'm glad you came through for me. Thank you so much. To address Representative Lurkia's questions, that I think you've touched on in certain 46 through 48 and 57, 58, you're actually deleting provisions of existing law that provide for reimbursement of certain administrative costs. So I gather those are, to your point, those are no longer going to be consumed by the monies in the program. It's going to go all directly toward food.
That's right.
Which I think is a wonderful change. And then I gather in 52 and 54, it looks like we're somewhat changing the pricing for which the program will purchase the food from wholesale prices to input plus half of appreciation costs. And I'm assuming that those terms all are fairly well established in the industry so that they will be easy to determine.
Yes, sir. The purpose for that is it, the farmer is still going to get less than what they would have got at the wholesale market. But it's going to be up to the food banks and the farmers to negotiate. My costs may not be exactly what Chairman Dickey's are, but they're going to negotiate what that price is, but by having it cost plus half of appreciation, you're assured that it's going to be less than a wholesale market. So you're going to be able to buy more produce and a lot of this stuff, y'all. I mean, it's like when we pick produce, and there's nothing wrong with it, but maybe it can't sit in the cooler for 2 weeks and then get on a semi truck and go to Albuquerque and then sit in a DC for another week and in a cooler and then make it to the grocery shelf. This bill, a lot of that product is going to create a home for it.
One other question, too. Well, and that's the other thing that seems so wonderful about this program. If I'm understanding it correctly, you're taking product that might not otherwise get to somebody that you might not be able to, liquidate in some fashion, and it gives you a market for it, although you're not making money, or at least recovering some costs, and you're putting food in the hands of people that really need it. So it doesn't just go to waste.
That's exactly right.
And so I really applaud that. I think it's a wonderful program, and I appreciate all the work y'all did making this a better program.
Well, thank you. This is probably my favorite. I'm new. I've only carried, this is my 4th bill, but this is by far my favorite bill that I've carried.
Well, I just think that's wonderful. And by the way, I've got code section 2890. So if I can give that to you afterwards, you can provide it to Chairman Watson later.
I appreciate it. By the way, I say, you have a pretty good singing voice yourself. So I don't know if the other members of the committee are aware of that.
Well, thank you. I sort of need some liquid modification of it before it comes out, but I appreciate that. I've enjoyed terrorizing people with you.
Senator, we got a couple more questions, and then we're gonna maybe try to wrap this up. Representative Thomas.
Senator Goodman, thank you for the bill. And thank you for the work that you did on the special committee, the Senate Food Insecurity Special Committee. I had the privilege of being at the Atlanta hearings all day on those 2 days. Just wanted to be clear, because I think I see some people in the audience that gave testimony during that Senate hearing or that special committee. Did you say that this bill came out of that committee? So all of those committees that you heard from the people?
Well, this is a governor's initiative. So I would definitely say that, that some of that played a part in formulating this. I would, we met with folks, like I say, all over the state. And so I would definitely say that, that there were some ideas that came out of that went into this. Sure.
Okay. That's in this bill.
I can't speak to that.
Okay.
I know that, Senator Jones and I work real closely with that. I actually asked to be placed on that committee. I asked the Lieutenant Governor to be placed on that committee. And the reason I did was I live in a town of 2,500 people, and the closest town to us, I live in the middle of the woods in rural South Georgia. And people talk about food insecurity, and, we had our grocery store shut down. The only grocery store in our town, it shut down for about 2 weeks. And we thought we were going to lose it. Right. And so, for my wife, she can get in the car, she can drive to Waycross for Valdosta and buy groceries. But for people like Miss Millery Campbell, who is now deceased, but she lived in town, she didn't drive, her children lived away. When we lost that grocery store and I went down, she didn't have anywhere to buy groceries. And so, it's an issue that was near and dear to my heart. And that was one of the reasons that I asked the Lieutenant Governor to be placed on that committee. And, it was, I really enjoyed it. That committee, it was made up of Democrats and Republicans, and we heard testimony from people from all across the spectrum. But we worked together on it, and I'm proud of the work that we did on it, and I'm thankful to be able to serve on that committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take one more question. Representative Corbett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to take the opportunity to tell my Senator Floor Leader Goodman, thank you for bringing this bill, a very important measure for our farmers and to help feed the hungry. So I certainly want to tell you, thank you for that. And at the proper time, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
I think Meeks is going to. Excuse me.
You ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion.
Do pass.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Yeah, second. Any other questions or discussion of the floor leader? If hearing none, all in favor of passage of this bill, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, bill passes. Thank you, Senator. Good
Thank you.
bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
On the rules, House rules. good luck there.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee Goff, for your help here this morning. Dave Berry also there with our legal counsel. Thank you. And Sarah, thank you for your help putting our packets and everything else, her smiling face every morning in our office. We'll go on to our next bill. Representative Thomas, you've got HB 1309. If you go to the center table and present this bill. This is a hearing only. This is the first time we've heard Representative Thomas' bill. I know she's been working hard on this with several entities, and we've got Laura Perry Johnson. Welcome this morning, head of our extension, the UGA. Thank you for being here this morning. And so, Representative Thomas, thank you, and you've got the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. I think it was a few people that wanted to sign up for public comment. Okay. Okay. Greetings, I'm State Representative Mandisha A. Thomas from the 65th House District, and I'm here to present House Bill 1309, the Georgia Urban Farming Youth Initiative. I'd like to thank you, Chairman Dickey, for allowing me to have this hearing today, and thank you to the committee members for being present, and also thank you to Ledge Council for helping me on this bill. You all should have received the most current version. There was a change on the age, line 61. It read 12 to 18. It's now 11 to 18. If you don't have the most current one, it should be in the packets that is being passed out right now. And I'd like to read the LC number into record, LC 5101368. We're okay with that? Okay. Excuse me? Yes. Today I have here with me Ms. Laura Perry Johnson, the Associate Dean for Extension, as well as Mr. Tenesio, the owner of Nature's Candy Farm. And Ms. Perry will be providing the committee with information regarding the proposed programming and budgeting of this legislation. And Mr. Tenesio will be providing you with information towards a $25,000 a year backyard farming model that is a perfect companion for this legislation. And I'll let them formally introduce themselves and provide the committee with additional testimony. But first, I would like to provide you with some legislation content. Prior to the pandemic, I didn't realize that there was a World Food Program Director, Mr. David Beasley, which is the former governor of North Carolina, who at that time had recently just recovered of the coronavirus himself. And that was on April 5th, 2020. He gave a quote. He said, "We have to work out these issues immediately. Otherwise, we are going to see phantoms unlike anything we've ever seen in history." And when he said that statement, I don't think he was referring to the need for access or the need for security, food security, that is. I believe that he was referring to the broken food system. And honestly, that's what prompted me to create this legislation. There's a catchphrase that we use throughout our lives, and I know that some of you may have heard it. And one of those phrases are "struck me like a chord." And that's exactly what the World Food Program Director's comments did for me. It struck me like a chord, and I'll never forget it. The comments literally gave me the umption to look into our food system and how our food is grown and how our food is distributed. This bill stems from an overwhelming response of urban farmers in South Metro area, which is every city below I-20 comprised of 8 cities, including a smidget of Atlanta, Southwest Atlanta. So it's South Fulton County to include Clayton County, Douglas County, and Fayette counties, and some of Coweta County. So what is the ask in this bill? This bill asks UGA Cooperative Extension to administer a pilot program through the individual urban cooperative extension offices across Georgia. The proposed legislation is still in need of program funding in the amount of $259,500. So yes, I am still on the search for the money, and we have a few more days in this legislative session to do that. How are participants chosen for this program? During the first year, 3 offices will be chosen. Each office will be allowed 10 participants for the total of 30 participants throughout this pilot. The requirements for the program are, I believe, on page 4, line 60 through 68. And for the benefit of the audience that don't have a copy of the legislation, I just want to read the requirements quickly. To be eligible to participate in the program, an applicant shall be between the ages of 11 and 18, have fully authorized access to no less than 0.01 acres, which is 435.6 square feet of farm and located in the jurisdiction of the Cooperative Extension Office, administering the program of which to farm. If the applicant is a minor, identify a parent or legal guardian who shall provide assistance and guidance for the applicant's participation in the program of the duration of the term, and be able to participate in the program for its full duration of the term. So now let's look at what this bill does. This bill creates a comprehensive program that affords the opportunity to build and create full-fledged long-term urban youth farmers. So this bill actually increases farming population. This bill addresses a need for food security. This bill increases the quality of life of Georgians. This bill addresses health disparities. This bill creates workforce development. This bill creates a domino effect. So when others in the community begin to see actions being taken place, they want to get involved as well. This bill creates collaboration between other local organizations, such as the Georgia Young Farmer Association and the Small Business Development Council. And most of all, this bill creates generational wealth in the state of Georgia. I think everyone here knows that agriculture is the number 1 industry in Georgia. But what some may not know is that Georgia is not the number 1 state for agriculture. But what we can be, or we can be through this bill can be a part of making that happen. But I will say Georgia has 2 mantras that I'm aware of. Agriculture is the number one industry, which we've just said. But if we took a map of the state of Georgia and we dotted it up, showing where farming is most present in the state, there would be quite a few areas in Georgia that would be unmarked. Historically, when we think about farming, we think about South Georgia. I love South Georgia. However, I would be honored to help bridge the gap between South Georgia and South Metro. Georgia also uses the tagline that we're the number 1 state to do business. That's part of this bill. It creates agribusiness owners. So as I see it, the 2 mantras of the state of Georgia, if you add the 2 together, it essentially embodies the Georgia Urban Farming Youth Initiative, which is House Bill 1309. With that being said, Chairman, I would like to, if it be your will, I would like to have Ms. Laura Perry speak about the program and budgeting that companions this legislation.
That'd be great. Thank you, Laura, for being here. Appreciate all you do in your department with extension throughout our state, urban and rural. And so thank you for being here and sort of talk about your program, what you're already doing in the state too, if you would.
Okay, thank you so much, Chairman Dickey, and thank you, Representative Thomas, for inviting me and for all of the great conversations we've had about agriculture and how we can be sure we're reaching all areas of the state with our agricultural programs. You know that I come from cooperative extension. I also come from a 7th generation farm. So farming is basically who I am and what I do. Agriculture is so important to me, but also the health and wellness of the people of the state are paramount to what we do in cooperative extension. I believe economic prosperity is very tied to health and wellness. And our family and consumer science programs, our 4-H programs, and our ag programs all promote this. And I think they're integrated and crucial to what we do. I thought it might be helpful for me to tell you a little bit about our urban extension programs so that you could get a feel for what we're already doing. After the Great Recession, we were pretty decimated in a cooperative extension and in our college, just like everyone else across the state and the nation. And so the very first year when we started to grow our budgets back, we got one 4-H position in the budget. Senator Freddie Powell Sims was a champion for that, if anybody remembers that. And we put an agent in Quitman County, a place that we had to close down our extension programs. After that, the next 2 to 3 years, we got very gracious appropriations from the legislature, and we were able to receive quite a few additional agent positions. And we actually took those positions and disproportionately put them in urban areas so that we could focus on our urban programs. So one year we got 12 positions. We put 6 of them in Northwest District, which is the metro district that serves the Atlanta area of the state. So with that, we were able to leverage those positions with county funds, and our urban counties are high contributors to cooperative extension. And we were able to build our urban programs. So starting in about 2013 to now, our programs are exponentially better, so much better that I've been asked to speak nationally 4 or 5 different times about how we've maintained our traditional row crop ag programs at the same time building our urban programs. So those involve not just urban agriculture, but all of the things that impact quality of life for urban citizens. So when Representative Thomas started talking to me about this initiative, I started letting her know what are the things that we're already doing and how could we scale this up and concentrate this. Oh, obviously, you know, we work with 4-H. Our typical audience is 9 to 19, but we do work with pre-club 4-Hers. So this age range is not unusual for us. We have a lot of programs for beginning farmers and ranchers, and this would feed right into this. One of the things I did tell her is to be able to scale up this fast, this quick, we would need a dedicated personnel. But even without that, we'll continue to move forward with our urban programming, and we'll continue to make it a priority. Just to give you one kind of interesting example, during the pandemic, I put out mini grants for the counties, and teams of agents and specialists could write their ideas, and we selected the best ones. One of the ones that I thought was one of the most interesting is in Fulton County. They made bee habitats and they passed them out throughout the community. So in high-rise buildings, they had places for bees to live. And so this program grew. We have a lot of pollinator programs. So you might have seen the Great Pollinator Census and things like that. So we partner with school systems. Partnering and cooperation is in our name. It's what we do. So all of these entities that Representative Thomas has talked about, we try to work with everyone else that is out across the state so that we aren't duplicating effort. But hopefully that gives you a feel for what we're doing in the urban areas. In our urban 4-H programs, or our 4-H programs across the nation, financial literacy is one of our initiatives. We have that with our adult programs, but we feel like if you're not teaching youth from the very beginning good financial literacy skills, then it's really hard to adopt that when you're an adult. So the entrepreneurial side of this and the financial literacy side of this, we have a lot of experience in those types of curriculums as well. So I'll just stop there in the interest of time unless you have other questions.
Thank you. We've got several people signed up in the audience to speak. We can do that, but before, while we've got Representative Thomas there and Laura there, is any questions from the committee? I see one, Representative Corbett, Chairman Corbett.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question, I guess, revolves around lines 43 and 44 when it talks about the gate card, and I guess upon just graduating the program, they qualify for gate card. Will we have to go in and change the definition of a qualified farmer? I know it's defined in code who qualifies for a gate card. Will we have to change that? And Chairman Watson can probably speak to that better than I can.
Chairman Watson, you got a question?
Well, just to follow up with Chairman Cormett there, on the gate card, you have to have a revenue of over $5,000 generated to qualify for the gate card. So I don't know if these operations would generate that much revenue to qualify, or would they, how much of their inputs, they would be using. I mean, I don't know exactly where they would be getting those from, or what all they're buying as far as fertilizer goes and seed and all that kind of stuff. But they would not qualify unless they are generating $5,000 or more in revenue.
Thank you. Floor Leader Meeks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks for bringing this legislation. My only question is, and concern is on line 62 and 63, when we talk about farmland located within this jurisdiction, are we talking about land that may be part of school system, or are we talking about actual pieces of property that may be zoned for agriculture purposes?
We're talking about the individual's backyard where they reside.
Okay, all right. Thank you, ma'am.
Chairman Jaspers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'm one of the extension agents that you're sitting beside, and you probably don't know that, but they all do. But and for Laura, got first question. You touched on it just a little bit about just the potential of your people to do the work. Do you have the number of them, within the South Fulton or South DeKalb, wherever it is, all this, a number of people to be able to do this?
Well, that is why I think if you scale this to this size, this fast, you would have to have a dedicated personnel that would do this. This type of programming we would be doing all the time as our base programming. If someone is working in their backyard or trying to start a school or community garden, they can call on their local county extension office, and we're available to help them. But to be able to have a dedicated program where you're talking about reaching 30 kids or families in 3 different counties with this type of intensive education over a 12-month period, I think it would take additional resources, because this would be on top of what they're already trying to do. Now, this as well as I do. In our urban counties, we're really stretched thin, because we have larger staffs in our urban counties, but compared to the population, it's a drop in the bucket. That's why we're working so hard to use digital measures and other ways to reach this population. We use a lot of master gardeners in the urban area, but for something this focused, we probably would have to have additional personnel.
I may just Chairman.
Go ahead.
Just that, that's kind of what I thought, doing this for my time. When I started a farmer's market years ago, it would have been impossible without volunteers from Master Gardener Association, because it just overwhelms you beside doing what you need to do. For Representative, have you looked to, in your community, at private funding that could be focused toward extension because they're doing it right now, generally, this idea, but looking at private funding that would be able to fund your idea?
Thank you, Representative. Yes, I have looked at private funding, and I'm waiting for some things to come through from some feelers that I put out that could possibly benefit the program. But we would surely like to get it from the General Assembly. When I created this program this summer, my calculations came at $500,000. When I met Laura Perry Johnson, she took about 3 weeks with some cooperative extension agents, put together this companion program, and this budget at about 356 or 365. I did share that with some of the colleagues that are sitting here today, and went back and reduced it as much as I could. And that's how we came up with the 259,500, the bare minimum to run this program for the year. But this also includes, if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Perry Johnson, this also includes 16 additional offices being added after the pilot.
There was funds for training, 16 additional.
Okay.
And I just want to follow in on the gate card, but Chairman Powell and I debated, Sam, and those, the $5,000 limit, but that's what, they felt they wanted, because I was advocating for a lower amount just because of the small farmers that do supply a lot of farmers markets and all that good stuff. But guess what? I lost.
But thank you, Chairman Jaspers, and thank you for all your hard work through the years of corporate extension service is your role there. So thank you for your expertise in this. I want to take one more question for committee. Then we've got a few people that are going to speak hopefully very quickly on this bill. We got Representative Camp on Zoom. Representative, can you ask a question?
Yes, good morning. My question is from a person who's been involved in education, agriculture education for kids. Not everyone's backyard is going to be amicable to produce food, unfortunately. Some people are going to have hard red clay. Some people are going to have soil that doesn't drain well. There's a lot of avenues that kind of come into play here. Is there another avenue? I looked through your program before, Representative Thomas, and you and I discussed this a little bit, but if a student did not have that 20 by 20 minimum square foot in their backyard, which is around 435, if they did not have that, has any thought been given to perhaps having a community garden located at a church or a public building that the students would have access to potentially do shares? Because even a child that signs up for this program potentially is not going to have soil that's going to allow them to, produce anything.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you, Representative Beth Camp. You're right. And we talked about this before. Yes, there are community gardens that we are building through the Georgia Young Farmer program. So last session, we were able to get a Georgia Young Farmer for South Fulton, and we've started in the city of Fairburn, and we're headed to Palmetto and perhaps back to East Point. So yes, in answer to your question, we do have the community gardens, but remember, this is a specialized program. So you have to meet the requirements in order to participate in this program. That acreage has to be there because of the USDA standards and could affect some of the equipment that you could get or the reimbursements from USDA. And I would like Mr. Tenesio just to talk a little bit more about that and shed some more on backyard gardening and what he is proposing for this legislation.
Good morning, representatives. Thank you for the time. Thank you, Representative, for having me speak today. Two things. Number one, I am an urban farmer that generates well over $5,000. But I also would like to state that I'm actually an urban agriculture director for a municipality, the city of East Point. In addition to holding that title, I helped write the white paper that allowed the city of Atlanta to hire the first agricultural director in the United States. Why am I stating all of this? What you're finding is that there's definitely a trend where municipalities are beginning to take advantage of the opportunity to support the local business owners within their cities. Where the gap exists is between the federal programs and the city programs. We're looking for the state and the counties to be able to bridge those two particular areas so that the municipalities can perform their tasks more effectively. Currently, we've been able to get the County of Fulton to be able to pass a resolution that supports urban agriculture. And where we're at in the city is we're in a state where we're trying to create a pipeline between the youth that are in our cities and some of the agricultural programs that also exist at places like UGA, Fort Valley State, so on and so forth. So where we see this opportunity being most grand is, number one, being able to create those income opportunities within those parcels of land that are appropriate. As has been mentioned already, you do have certain properties that are not innately and initially fit for these type of programs. However, this is where city agriculture has been able to think outside of the box and create opportunities using raised beds, using soil remediation techniques to help fix these initially blighted properties. But in addition to that, what we're also seeing is that the age gap that I think many of you all are aware of is starting to widen, and we need to shrink it. So we're finding that many of these farmers that are wanting to get into farm at this time are much younger, coming out of the cities. And what they're hoping for is that as they continue to gain experience in agriculture, many of them are actually moving out of the cities, and you're finding a bridge being built between the rural and urban environments where these properties that were once suffice for them, they've outgrown them. And so now they want to be able to get into some of the surrounding counties and being able to expand their operations. I could go on and on about some of the other benefits, but the main thing I just want to emphasize is that we are, again, trying to bridge a divide between what's happening in cities, where municipalities are writing city agriculture plans, such as East Point, such as Alpharetta, and then be able to get some of that state support, which I think would be a perfect complement to the issue of capacity to handle this program. You do have private-public partnerships that are already being formed at the city level. I think this would be a great opportunity for the municipalities to also take on some of the labor, if you will, in facilitating a program like this and complement to cooperative extension. So I'm open for any questions as well, but thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Question to Representative Dukes.
Thank you. It was kind of to Laura, because we're doing this in the urban area. What are we doing, anything similar to that down in our parts of the state, as far as making sure that our youth are engaged?
Well, James Morgan, he is one of what I would consider our best urban ag agents across the state. Daugherty really operates like an urban county. The majority of the population is in the city limits,
Right.
and he has one of the strongest master gardener programs in South Georgia, and actually trains master gardeners for 17 counties in that Southwest Georgia area. So I'm one of his biggest fans, you might be able to tell. And he does a fabulous job.
No,
So
no.
it doesn't matter what county you're in. I'm from Moultrie, Colquitt County. Everywhere you go, you can find people that don't know where their food comes from and that don't know how
Right.
food's grown. So this is a need, not just in urban areas, but across the state.
I think it's good legislation. The concern is that are we able to expand it beyond? Because like you say, everywhere,
Mhm.
even some of the smallest counties, the kids are now don't understand farming. And for the master gardener, you all are doing things in the metro area that's expanding urban farming. How is that going in this area, and who's kind of leading that effort?
There are farms such as Truly Living Well Center for Natural Urban Agriculture that's been in operation since 2006. They started off with a 1.5 acre property, and they've expanded out to 8. I'm actually a graduate of one of their programs, as well as the current director of urban agriculture for the city of Atlanta. He's also a graduate of their program. And there's several others. I could give you a list, but in address to the point about rural support, James and I actually worked together. I can't remember what line it is within the bill proposition, but there's a mention of the Journeyman Farmer Program. Along with Julia Gaskins from UGA, I was actually one of the co-authors and facilitators of that program. And so we hosted that not only in Fulton County, but also in Houston and Daugherty, as well as Habersham and many other areas outside of the urban environment for the very specific reason that you mentioned. And so again, we look at this really as a way to build bridges, not create division. And so this is something that, though it's being proposed to begin in the urban environment, it definitely can cross-pollinate, pun intended, to the other areas of the state.
I think it's great legislation.
Thank you. We've got a couple of people who want to make some quick comments. I know we're running short on time. Jake Matthews, you signed up to speak to this. Let's see, podium mic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Jake Matthews with Georgia Farm Bureau's Public Policy Department. Georgia Farm Bureau has been committed to ag education. That's one of the main things we're all about. It's something that we do through multiple different programs. Our Ag in the Classroom program. We got our mobile ag classroom that also travels the state going to schools, letting kids go through it and learn something about agriculture. We appreciate also what our cooperative extension does for farmers all across the state. And we also appreciate Representative Thomas for just her passion about agriculture and her commitment to educating the future of agriculture. We're also committed to working with her on this just to get it where it would need to be. There's a lot of moving parts to it. So I look forward to doing that. And again, we appreciate you letting us be here to talk to you.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate you with that. Nina Moshefi, is she here? Come to the, thank you for being here this morning. This is a good conversation we're having. And so
Well, thank you.
you've got the chair.
Well, thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. My name is Nina Moshefi, and I am an educator with Georgia State and a biologist. And I am for this amazing bill that Representative Thomas has brought forward and proposed. But I'm also a student of MTU Shah Maksudi School of Islamic Sufism. MTU Shah Maksudi is a global charitable organization with over 30 centers across the globe, with peace, unity, and love and self-knowledge as its core tenets. We have sought to expand these principles through our actions in our city and greater community. Excuse me. As a result, we have historically engaged in many activities such as interfaith events, community outreach, and support programs, as well as environmental and sustainability gatherings. MTO has identified 4 primary sustainable goals corresponding to the UN Sustainability Development Goals, or better known as the SDGs. Each MTO center operates in line with our 4 sustainability goals, focusing on making environmentally conscious decisions that benefit local communities and the planet. Engaging youth in efforts to promote environmental sustainability has important implications for young people as well as for the communities in which they live. Youth engagement in general is critical to positive youth development, reported by multiple studies that look at youth development and its approaches. Young people should be a part of planning, implementation, and assessment of comprehensive community initiatives that are mainly there to support them. Youth engagement strategies such as Georgia Urban Farming Initiative that Representative Thomas has brought forth invest in youth and adult partnerships and create environments and systems that provide rich civic opportunities for youth. Such promising and effective engagement strategies are needed in our communities as youth today are exposed to grand environmental challenges and the negative outcomes of climate change. Constructing sustainable, environmentally friendly practices are more than ever crucial. Funding such
Could you wrap it up? Okay, thank you.
Funding such youth engagement initiatives will in long run create room for us to grow and thrive in a balanced environment. Educating our youth to become tomorrow's farmers through this bill that Representative Thomas has proposed will potentially impact the future of farming in Georgia.
Thank you. I appreciate those comments. I know our committee does as well. Is Ruby Foster here? Would you like to make a comment to address? Thank you for being here. Tell the committee who you are.
Good morning. My name is Ruby Foster. I'm the city council for the city of Chattahoochee Hill, District 1. And I'm here this morning. I want to thank you, Ms. Thomas, for this bill. And living out in the rural area is very important for us to be able to have our youth, give them something to do. I grew up on a farm for years. So when I was younger, I didn't realize how important the food was. But now I look back, it was so important. But I just want to say thank you, Ms. Thomas, for the bill. I'm not going to stay for long, but I do support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's see, we got one other person, Cubby. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Tell the committee who you are.
Thank you very much. Good morning. I'm Kwabena Cubby in Chromo. Folks just call me Cubby. I'm an urban farmer as well in Atlanta. My company is called North America Food and Farm PBC Inc. We've been around for about 10 years growing food, and I started out in Southwest Atlanta. I just want to just stress the economic development potential of this bill. There's a real demand for food that's grown locally in the metro Atlanta area. It far exceeds the amount of farmers that are there to satisfy it. We just launched a new farmers market in partnership with the Mall of Stonecrest in DeKalb County. And the folks are coming there every week on Sunday to get food that they want to see grown locally. They want to be able to meet the farmer. And so we have this legislation that provides a pipeline for additional farmers to be developed. It will be met by the demand that's in the community. Young people want to farm in Atlanta. It might be surprising to people. It's really an energized movement. It's around sustainability, but it's really about empowerment. It's about connecting with nature. It's about being in control of one of the key sources of life. And this is something that is really developing in our young people. So it's really incumbent upon us to meet that demand with the ladder to get there. And last thing I would like to stress is that this is an investment that will be met by the private sector. The private sector has been carrying a lot of the development of urban farmers thus far with grants and funding from groups like Food Well Alliance and others. It's really important for the public sector to provide some seed capital to meet that work that's already being done. I think the combination will be explosive, particularly from a policy setting perspective. And so I wanted to support this bill, and Representative Thomas's work is excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Time's getting late. We've got one more little bill I want to hear. And Representative Thomas, thank you for this. Thank you all for this conversation. I think it's very important. Our state is definitely changing, and our urban population certainly is growing. I just want to remind the committee also, Chairman England's on this committee, been very involved not only in appropriations for our corporate extension, but our ag education over in the Department of Ag, our FFA program through our state, and in our high schools and middle schools. And actually, I'm presenting a bill in an hour to the Department of Ag to put our ag education in elementary schools, which has been a pilot program there. And so I'm really excited about all we're doing in all our departments in educating our young people on the importance of agriculture and food and where it comes from, and all the other skills that 4-H and FFA and everybody else gives our young people. Very, very, very important. We'll continue this conversation, Representative. Thank you for your time and work on this, and maybe we can find some funding for this. So thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Chairman. And I just would be remiss if I didn't say this. This is a nationwide piece of legislation, and you all have it before you, the Ag Code 3. This legislation has already been filed in, of course, Georgia, which is the hub, Ohio, and Kentucky. So this legislation is going forth. It's needed across the nation, and it would be unfortunate that the hub does not push this legislation forward and it goes forward in another state. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, we on your agenda, I've been working with Representative Maynard on HB 1152. I see her there, and this is a hearing only on this bill, and so I thank her on this work. We've got some other possibilities. So, Representative, thank you for being here. Talk to the committee a little bit about this bill and your concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to make this really quick because I know we are pressed on time. It is, everybody says this is a simple bill, but this really is the simplest bill you could imagine. When you go into a store right now or a restaurant and you see a sign that says exact change only, and what's happening is the businesses are not giving you your change back. So if you go through the drive-through and you give them a $5 bill, your change is for something, they're just not giving you your change back. I want to give you an example of why this bill came to play. In Family Dollar on Bankhead Highway, it's now called Hollowell Highway, which is in an underserved community. A man in front of me was buying some milk. Milk may have cost him $2 and something. He gave the cashier a $5 bill, and he was looking for his change back from $5, from $2 and some change. And he said, well, it's exact change only. And he said, well, I need my change back, but he really needed that milk too. And so the man left out of the store without getting his change from $2 from the $5 and but he needed the milk. And so that's what this bill is really about. So businesses are keeping people's change. This law just says you at least have got to give people a store credit or something. You can't just take people's money. Now, I've been talking to Chairman Dickey about adding something in here. And what that would be, since we've been in this COVID pandemic, a lot of businesses are going to a cashless system, but everyone doesn't have cards to tender, merchandise or services. And especially in underserved communities, people just may not have bank cards. And so they're not able to actually purchase and transaction. And so that would be a supplement to the bill. And we're also going to exclude, and I hope I'm not talking too fast, but we're also going to exclude this this piece about the cashless and card where it does not include large sports or entertainment venues, because we do understand in large transaction areas that being cashless may make it much more easier.
Thank you, Representative. I think you and I have been talking about this and some others, and it's been on my mind as well. I think it's a good bill to discuss. I'd love some comments from our committee about this, because I'm going to ask her to bring this back next week when some things in this committee to seriously discuss this issue I think we're having all over this state. Representative Chairman Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to offer to the author, this has happened to me, where it was traveling on the road. They just said, nope, you don't get any change back. And you were just sort of stuck without it. So it is an issue. I've heard from my constituents too. Thank you for bringing this.
Thank you.
Representative Dukes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank the representative for bringing this bill. It is so unfortunate that we are living in a society that we have to pass a law to get people to give you your change back. This has happened to me. And I almost could not have been a representative anymore because I was so upset. I was on the verge of catching a case. You're gonna just take my money? So we want to thank you for that.
Thank you. Representative LaRicchia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've looked into this whole cash for services thing on a bill here a couple of years ago. And it was when we wrote the metal theft laws, we prohibited secondary metal recyclers from being able to even pay cash to someone for a small amount of recycling. I thought that was asinine. Equally, I'm as concerned about people paying for services or merchandise and not getting change. So I almost want to offer an amendment that says, if you're not willing to offer change, then you have to give them for free, whatever it is, rather than you not giving me my change for the milk that I paid for. How about you just give me the milk for free? And I bet it would fix that problem. That if you're not willing to make change for your merchandise or services, then you have to provide it for free and not penalize the consumer. Fixes that problem. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Representative Lewis Ward on Zoom. Do you have a question?
I have a comment. Thank you, Chairman Dickey. I just wanted to mention that this is an excellent bill. It happened to me just Saturday night. My change was $30.05. I only got the $32. And when I asked about the nickel, I was told she didn't have any change. So we sat there pondering what our next move would be. So to pick back on what Representative Duke said, we just left as opposed to because
Thank you. Appreciate that. We got Representative Camp on Zoom. You got another question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Representative Maynor. I think this is a very important bill. And just in my observation and the comments I've gotten from people in my area and my district, there we go. This disproportionately affects the elderly and those who do not have access to cards and those who are lower wage earners, simply because they are absorbing more of the cost. As you said, someone bought a $5 gallon of milk. You know, that's a really hard thing for someone to have to stomach, especially with how, you know, inflation has impacted everyone at this point. So I really applaud this. My mother-in-law is 95 years old. She loves using cash. She's run into this situation. You know, the currency that we have is currency that's supposed to be accepted anywhere for any purpose within the United States of America. And the fact that it's not being treated appropriately, we are no longer in a change shortage based on the information that I have. We're no longer in a pandemic. So I applaud you very much for, I'm sorry for that. Sorry. I applaud you for bringing this bill forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Camp.
Thank you, Representative Camp. My thoughts exactly. You said that very well. And I think some real dangers in going to a cashless society. And I think currency is very important and should be taken. It's legal tender. And I really thank you for bringing this bill. I think it's very bipartisan bill that you can see a lot of us got concerns with. So we look forward to. I have one more question. Representative Thomas, is that you? No. Oh, okay. Well, thank you again. We'll be seeing this again soon. That's all we have on our agenda today. Thank you for your patience. We've got dinner tonight. We will also have a meeting tomorrow afternoon. We've got it scheduled for 2. I hope we got a good many bills on the calendar for tomorrow. I hope will not take too long, but I've got 2 very important bills on the calendar tomorrow. Chairman Perkle's raw milk bill and freedom to farm. Both he and I have been working very hard with all sides, trying to get the wording correctly on these bills, get it narrowed down so it's acceptable. I thank Lead Council Dave Berry for working both of us with that bill and other organizations. So hopefully we can have this meeting tomorrow afternoon if all goes as scheduled. Thank y'all. Meeting adjourned.